Hey guys, so Tara here, and I am going to be covering one of my favorite topics to talk about, and that is goal setting. I've always been that kind of person that, is like knows the next 5 years of her life or whatever. But I wanted to share with you some strategies that I found to be really useful as we're thinking about setting goals for the next year. And what I'm going to show you, it doesn't have to just apply to, an upcoming new year, New Year's resolutions. You can do this at any point during the year, okay? So first up, take a moment, take a journal and get it out, or a piece of paper or something like that, and take a moment to write down some things that you could celebrate about last year. What did you accomplish? Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I was like, oh, I don't need to do this, I'll skip it, whatever. But as I was starting to write my goals for the next year, I was kind of feeling a little negative about myself and thinking, and then I thought, I didn't do anything last year, so I'm not going to write anything down. But I forced myself to do it. I set like a timer for, 5 to 10 minutes, and I wrote down as much as I could. And I was overlooking things like, I got my doctorate degree, like the biggest thing I've ever done in my life besides having children and getting married to my husband, like pretty huge accomplishment that took a whole lot of work. And I was thinking, I didn't do anything last year. I'm not going to give myself a pat on the back. So just challenge yourself. And it doesn't have to be something huge. I mean, I put in mine, I don't have it in front of me, but I had little things too that were seemingly insignificant, but I really want to give myself credit for that. So set a timer. Do a couple minutes, give yourself some big serious kudos because you deserve it. All right, next up, what I want you to do is identify 4 to 6 key areas of your life. Now, if you are one of my individuals who is doing my free Peaceful Pursuit of Balance e-course, and you can go to tarahsporter.com to register for that. It's right at the top. If you're one of those people, then this sounds familiar, right? You identify some key areas of your life, because so often we get scattered and we have all these different roles, and because of that, we're spread far too thin. So you're going to take a moment, you're going to identify 4 to 6 of the most significant areas of your life. So mine are family, my business, what else did I put for this year? Gotta write it down. Like my health, I might have had health and fitness for the year. Just write down like 4 to 6 key areas of your life. I think I put home as well. So it doesn't have to be a role that you have, but like my home is an area of my life that's very important to me. Spirituality, super important to me. So I wrote those down. Next up, take your journal out and paint a vision for yourself in each of those areas of your life. So what's the end game? What do you want your life to look like? So for me, it's things like I want my kids to grow up and see home as home base. Even as they're like teenagers and in their 20s or whatever, they just always walk into our home and feel welcome and know that they can always be here. I want us to be close. I want them to want to do things with me. So that's something that's high on my priority list. I want to be debt-free and aggressively putting money into my savings account. I want my home to feel welcoming and in order, like there's not clutter everywhere. I want that. I want this peaceful retirement with my husband where we can sit around and read, which we love to do, and go to movies and travel to go see our kids. That's the vision I have. And I get really specific. I write it down for each of those areas that you identified in the previous steps. You just kind of say, where do I want to be? Because once you have that clear vision, you have a greater sense of what you need to do to accomplish that. So now take that vision and look at it and identify any contradictions that you might have. Now, I made this huge mistake, you guys, huge mistake, where I had this life vision set up for myself, and I didn't pay attention to the fact that things were really contradictory to one another. And so then what happened was I was stretched far too thin. So let me give you an example. I wanted to be a stay-at-home parent. I wanted to be super present for my kids. I wanted to do all the volunteer in classrooms, all the field trips, all that stuff. Well, I also wanted to work full-time in the corporate world. And I didn't realize until I actually joined the corporate environment where I'm away from my kids 11 hours a day that holy smokes, I'm in contradiction with what my thoughts, with what my goals are. You might also find that there are goals that are contradictory to one another, and that's okay. You just need to be aware of it. So one of the examples I often give is, let's say you have a goal to go on vacation as a family. Maybe you want to go to Disneyland at the end of next year, but you also want to be aggressively paying off debt be aware that those might be in contradiction to one another. That doesn't mean that you have to get rid of one of the goals, but you need to strategize around that and understand that. So have this full picture view of it. I often have people come to me with they want to focus on their health and fitness. That's like a big thing people want to focus on. They come to me to get some help. And after we talk and we go through things, I suddenly find that either they're not financially willing to commit to themselves because it contradicts with the financial goal that they have, or they don't have enough time. And when someone tells me they don't have enough time, what you're really saying is this, whatever you're asking me to invest my time in, is not a priority. And as not as high of a priority. That's not necessarily a bad thing, right? We're all stretched for time, and you might have a bunch of things more important than one of those goals. That's why you want to sit down and identify these goals and these priorities right at the outset and making sure that they don't contradict, okay? All right, now let's move on to the next one. Now this is fun. Setting annual goals based on that vision. So you know where you want to go. Now sit down and break it down. What could I accomplish in the last year that gets me towards that vision? So for example, our goals for this year are pay off all of our credit card debt. I have a goal for my website where I want to have a certain number of mailing list subscribers. So I have these things very specific, they're measurable so that you know when it's done. There's an end game, okay? Next, take those annual goals and divide them into quarterly goals. That's one of the biggest problems that people have when they set annual goals is you forget about them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I neglected my quarterly goals earlier this year, so I had to go back and I went, oh gosh, that was a goal I had? That's normal, don't beat yourself up. That's why I do quarterly goals. And what you can do is on your phone, you can set an alarm that says, for every quarter, remind me to set my goals. That way it's an alarm, you don't have to worry about remembering. You can go in and set the quarterly goals, okay? So those things are breaking down that annual goal into something just a little bit smaller. So let's say my goal for pay off credit card debt could be one. Then maybe my goal by the end of the first 90 days that I have, by the end of January, February, March, by the end of March, one of my goals could be to consistently develop a habit of not eating out. That's where we tend to blow our money, and we're really working on that. So maybe that's my goal, because then I know that extra money can go towards paying off our credit card debt. So think about that. Think about how to break it down, okay? So then what you're gonna wanna do during this time when you are focusing on that quarterly goal is realize that you have a seasonal focus. This is the season of your life for that. So you create an environment around those goals for each of the areas of your life. Now I wanna be clear. You identified 4 to 6 areas of your life and you set annual and quarterly goals for each of those areas, okay? Now, if you're scared and you're worried that that's too many goals and that's overwhelming, I really, really, really want to point you towards my Peaceful Pursuit of Balance course. That's a free workbook at TaraSporter.com because it shows you how it doesn't have to be overwhelming, okay? So, your seasonal focus. We can get so distracted so easily by all these shiny objects. I know I am, right? And if you develop laser focus, you can be totally on a mission to focus on that particular thing. So in the area of business, let me give you an example. My goal is to build my mailing list. Well, I might see a training on how to do Facebook ads, and I might go, oh, I want to learn that. I want to do this training. Or I hear about some fancy training somewhere. Or, ooh, I want to redesign my website. And it distracts you from those things. And quite often, those distractions are you trying to avoid that work. I'll never forget this story. I used to own a website called paddedtushtstats.com. I've since sold it. And every year there is an annual event that is huge. Like 80% of the blog's traffic happens on that day. It's insane. And I decided like a day or two before the event to completely redesign my website. And my partner in the business probably lost her mind on me that I did that, but that was me avoiding that. So often we distract ourselves to avoid doing that focus that we need. And when we stay focused, that's when we see results. So have laser laser focus for each of those areas. So let's say for my family life, my focus is I want to have one-on-one time with my kids each and every day. Well, you might get all these distractions to go to play dates and go to someone's house, but if it's taking from that, you need to redirect your attention and go, nope, this is my focus for the next 90 days in this area of my life. Okay? That's going to keep you on that track. Divide it also into monthly goals. So you have the quarterly goals, divide it into monthly goals. That can help you break it down even smaller. And I even recommend break it down weekly. But once you get that small, here's where I'm taking you to the next step. Develop habit goals. So for habit goals, I really want you to focus on not just some intangible goal that you want to accomplish, but something that's truly taking over your lifestyle. Okay? So let me talk a little bit about the creation of a habit. Our brains work like this. Is scientifically proven. For a habit to form, whether good or bad, it needs 3 components: a trigger, the actual action, and then a reward. So a trigger, let's use a bad habit, for example, smoking. If someone's stressed out, that's kind of a trigger. They smoke, which is the action, and then the reward is kind of feeling a little bit more relaxed, okay? Let's do a healthier one. Let's say for working out, you put on your tennis shoes and get ready to work out. The action is the workout, and then the reward afterwards might be just how good you feel after the workout, or maybe you visit with some friends after the workout, or whatever. You have those things set up, okay? One key thing about the reward, it has to be immediate. It has to happen right away. Often people, especially with fitness goals, they say, oh, if I work out for a month, I get a pair of brand new shoes. Well, that is not enough to rewire your brain to start to create that path. Okay? And the rewiring your brain, they actually found that as people created habits, they create neural pathways. They add on neural pathways that like changes the physiology of your brain, which is crazy. But it takes working through that tough stuff and developing those habits. Once it becomes a habit, it's going to be easier for you to accomplish that goal. So let's say, for example, our goal is to not eat out next year as much. The thing is, once a week, I think, is our goal. So what I want to do is maybe every Sunday I sit down and I prepare a freezer meal. So maybe my trigger is I have an alarm that goes off on my phone every single Sunday. That's, hey, start preparing your freezer meal. I prepare the freezer meal, and perhaps my reward is that night, maybe our family has like a really nice favorite dinner that we get to have. Okay, so just kind of come up with a way to package those habits and work on them little by little. And that is how you're going to transform your life and keep these goals present and in your mind so that you are aggressively working towards them throughout the year and you're having phenomenal results. So I hope this helps, but I really want to hear what some of your goals are for the next year. So comment below and I would love to hear about them. And again, if you want to do that peaceful pursuit, you know where it's at, TaraSporter.com. That can help break this down a little bit more. I have a workbook for you so that you can kind of go through the process. So anyway, you guys, I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.